morning, everyone. Thank you for those parents who joined us in last week's session on cyber safety. Quite a few parents couldn't make it, and so they asked for a recording. And so we thought we'd do a quick recording this morning just to let you know what the talk was about. We found over the last 6 or 7 months, most of the issues we're dealing with discipline are around cyber safety, around cyber bullying, and around misuse of the technical world. So we are trying to put together a quick talk talking about the emotional issues that are involved, as well as the trends, and then how, as parents, we can try and solve the problem. So we found over the last 2 years that COVID has escalated the use and abuse of cyberspace. And that's what we're really, really concerned about. And as a community, we need to get together and make sure that it works. Just last week, there was a TikTok trend where schools were challenged to damage school property, bathrooms, teachers' cars, and there were 6 or 7 schools in Natal that took on this trend. And so those are the scary things and the decision-making that we've got to help our teenagers and our pre-teens work through. So we've got Mrs. Schelin, who is our new school counsellor. She's going to give you a little bit of a rundown on the trends and what we're seeing and how do we prevent it from an emotional point of view. And then Mr. Viljoen is going to talk a little bit about the technology, about routers, and how we as parents can try and protect our kids as much as possible.
Good morning, my name is Christina Schelin. I'm the new educational psychologist at Reddam House. As Mr. Hazley mentioned, we've obviously had an increase in the cyberbullying and cyber activity at the school. So myself and Mr. Viljoen thought it would be a really great idea to start collaborating with parents on this topic and really getting the support. So in terms of us and looking at the risks that are involved, obviously, and the risky behavior that our children are getting involved in, include 3 areas that we're quite concerned about. The content they're viewing, the contact that they're having with the outside world, and obviously the conduct. What we know about the research at the moment is that there hasn't been a longitudinal study to look at the effects that cyberbullying and cybercrimes have on our children. But what we do know is that there are risks. There are risks to inappropriate content, conduct, and contact. And these are the things that we as a community are concerned about, because when we're looking at content, we are looking at how our children are being exposed to inappropriate content that they're not ready to process yet. Parents aren't even allowed to have conversations with their children before they've seen certain things. And with regards to contact, we're seeing children being exposed to strangers, complete and utter strangers that we have no idea who they are, what their intentions are. And our kids, they believe that they'll never be catfished. Here's the reality. 48% of our children have already spoken to a complete stranger via social media. And then a big one, which is conduct. One of the biggest challenges we're experiencing across the globe is cyberbullying and sexting and TikTok challenges that are going viral. And while these can have a really positive impact, what we're seeing is they're having a really negative impact because of the fact that some of the challenges, like Mr. Hazley mentioned, didn't go so well. They were damaging property. They were inciting violence. And this is what we are trying to protect our children from and helping them make better decisions. How do we support our kids? Because here's the reality. What we know about cyberbullying and cybercrimes is that it doesn't end for our kids. So we as parents and as teachers and as a community need to start supporting our learners. So how do we do that psychologically? Well, for us, we always say early intervention is the best intervention. So for us, we're really looking at when you introduce a phone or a laptop or something to your children, have the conversation around what are the boundaries and what are the consequences. Children need those in order to thrive and in order to know how and what is expected of them. So when you're setting that, what we like to call as a cyber agreement, which is a new trending thing that people are talking about. And how do we do that? So I've attached a link at the bottom. Clicked, and it's an incredible website that has a whole bunch of study guides and guides for parents to have these open conversations about their children and to find age-appropriate stuff. Because here's the thing, some of our kids are really being exposed to gaming and content that isn't really age-appropriate. So for parents, there are guides there that help you in terms of putting into place that early intervention to say, here's why you can't go on Roblox, or here's why you can't do that. Also, one of the biggest things that we always talk about is modeling the behavior that you hope to see in your child. How many of you always are talking about just one more email? If you set up a boundary or a rule, you need to also follow through so that your kids know that if there is no phone at the dinner table, it's expected across the board, because it's called a family agreement for a reason. The other one is to really start having open and honest discussions. It's one of the most difficult things we see for our parents, is having those open and honest discussions, because more than likely your kids already seen some of the stuff and they're curious. So why not start opening up those conversations? And remember, your reaction will dictate whether or not your children will open up to you. So remember to try and remain as regulated and as calm as possible, because 9 times out of 10, when they're telling you, oh, Mom, Susie did this at school or saw this, they're looking at your reaction to see whether or not they can really chat to you about it. So try your best to remain in control of yourself, in control of your emotions, so that you can have these open and honest discussions. Because I always say it's better to have the information coming from me than a stranger who may not align with my family values. The other thing that we are really pro at is research. Research. There's an incredible amount of information. And again, Clifton has awesome guides in terms of what is age appropriate, what is not. That includes even movies. And that's how we can ensure that we are making sure that when our kids tell us that there's this new game, that we don't just go out and buy it. We actually research what is the content, what is the exposure. And then the last 2 things, which I think are really, really fun, is creating screen-free zones in your home, as well as having family tech challenges. So I encourage you as parents and as a community to start creating really awesome, healthy habits that will use, social media and technology in a more positive way, because it is a positive thing. It's not always a negative thing. It's always what we do with it.
As mentioned, the information out there online is absolutely scary. And one point that I really want to bring across is the algorithms. Just looking at what is filtered through TikTok, algorithms are used every day to help enhance or search or increase your feed that comes through. A perfect example was myself looking for a phone for my wife. Within a minute of Googling the phone, it appeared directly on my own personal Facebook feed. Now, that's what it can happen within a minute. What is going to happen a little bit further down the line? So in order to safeguard ourselves, we need to set up our routers at home correctly. And it's not a case of that it's a point of blocking everything, but it's just to filter the content that we are allowing children to see. Find under the router, a little sticker, the IP address to connect to it, and passwords to gain access to it. It is important that you change your router password, because this standard generic password is always admin. And if you don't change it, anyone can have access to your router and then apply that. So please, as you look at my notes, as you can see, how to change the password through system tools, very, very important. And please make it a password that you know and won't forget, and also that no one else will know it. All right. As we continue through, we are able to set up our router by putting in a MAC address. Now, to find a MAC address is quite simple. Every device has it, whether it's a cell phone, a tablet, a PlayStation, or an Xbox, or even a computer. Everyone has a MAC address. To find it on your phone is to go into your settings and about the phone, and you'll find the MAC address there. On the PlayStation, in the same process, going into your settings, you're easily able to find it there. Once you have the MAC address listed on your router, you are then able to put in certain parameters to block that PlayStation or tablet or phone during the day or evening. So a perfect example would be for the PlayStation, that from 6 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock in the morning, you block internet access. Therefore, you negate certain games, such as Fortnite, that they can't play that during the week. But then you can open it and then still restrict it, some of it during the weekend as well. Once you've set up your router correctly, following the instruction manual, which will be given to you, another option you can look at is looking at some apps that can be placed onto your child's phone. Some people have a problem with this, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for that phone. So putting apps on to monitor what they are on is actually quite a good idea to do. There are some free apps out there which really do help and can link multiple devices, such as Google Family Link. We have Family Time and Parental Controls, but a really good one is the Parental Control app and Location Tracker. So this also geolocates your child to where they are, and also it filters your TikTok feed, which does, I think, is essential these days, as brought up previously about the challenges that are coming through. Then a great option of a paid one is through Net Nanny. Net Nanny has been around since the dawn of the internet, and they're constantly evolving. They're constantly changing. Yes, you have to pay for it. It is a yearly subscription, but it does work out to about 75 Rand a month, where this allows you to have 5 devices and it monitors everything on that device. A certain word that is typed into Google, you will get a notification. It works over Wi-Fi and data, so we don't have to stress if they're not on the internet at home. It still works using data as well. They cannot remove the app from the phone because it does require your credentials. So the app will always be there, and it can filter and protect your child even further. One final point I would really like to talk about is gaming. Being a gamer myself, gaming is a wonderful tool to have. It has its advantages, but it comes with its disadvantages as well. We are exposing children online to a variety of people all around the world, and we have strangers talking to them. All they need to do is have one game, and they can send a message and they can contact someone. So please monitor who your child is talking to online. It is important because, again, you cannot see that person and we don't know who they are. A colleague of mine actually games with their child, which is fantastic because they are able to monitor and control what they see, especially in the world of Roblox. Roblox has the biggest users are under the age of 16, but unfortunately, there are content that is placed into these rooms on Roblox that is not desirable for children under the age of 16. Go do a quick Google search on a BBC study of Roblox, and you'll see all the information has come up about certain rooms that were created, and children have access to these rooms. So it's very important that, yes, gaming is fantastic, but we have to monitor it closely. Try to keep your gaming station in a public forum, in the house, in the lounge, or in the dining room, where it's within earshot, so the children are not alone.
So what we do know is that there are implications for our teenagers and our pre-adolescents, and we want to chat about that because there are 2 factors that we're looking at. There is a school code of conduct, which Mr. Viljoen is going to chat about right now. And then there's also a legal side that's now just coming. So Mr. Viljoen, tell us a little bit about the school's code of conduct and their stance.
100%. As a school, we have a firm stance on bullying. We have a zero tolerance towards it. Unfortunately, people tend to think that because they can do it online, they can just pop it off and bring someone in the school involved into it. Unfortunately, as a school, when you bring us into disrepute, meaning that you are bringing the school's name into a bad reputation or highlighting the school in a bad way, unfortunately, you have to follow through with it.
Absolutely.
And when you involve another learner at the school, whether it's during school time or even on the weekend, we have to follow through the processes because you are bringing a child that is in our care and we need to follow the process involved to sort it out. So we are going to look at that and we will follow due process in order to make sure that everyone in our school is safeguarded and protected.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things because really our jobs here is to protect our kids. And one of the things that on a larger scale is that the South African government has got on board and they've just introduced a Cyber Crimes Act. People are being held accountable for the stuff that they say online. And I think this is really important because we often get caught up thinking that, if I just say this, no one's going to care. But what we're seeing is that actually it doesn't matter how far you go back. Sometimes it catches up with you. We've seen this with celebs. We know this, that sometimes, I think you mentioned Kevin Hart, something happened with Kevin Hart.
He posted a tweet about 10, 12 years ago and someone went back to find it. And then there were repercussions with the cancel culture that came through as well.
Exactly.
And I think you highlighted a fantastic point of the accountability. Because as we see online, there's the keyboard warriors or the trolls that have a social media platform and think because they have something to that effect, they can just post whatever they want and there's no repercussion for it. Now we're slowly starting to see that there's a change and there's a shift.
Exactly.
That now we're going to start holding people accountable for the words that they say. And even if you're online and you hide your IP address, use a VPN, whatever you want to use to make sure that you are anonymous. It doesn't work. You can be traced. You can be followed. There's a process that's involved in it and we've got to follow that, but you can be found. You are not a ghost online. You have a digital footprint.
And I think what's really interesting is also that we're looking at now in the South African context, they're looking at fining people exorbitant amounts, but more than that, there's jail time. So that is really important for us because at least that means now we have something to protect ourselves, not only our children, but also as a population because people need to take accountability for what they're doing and their actions.
It's fantastic that we've introduced it. It's not a scare tactic. It's a thing to show you that we've got to be smarter when we're online.
And we have to think about what we're doing online. And that's what we really want to promote is that we want our kids to stop and think about what they're doing, because what we do know is that cyberbullying is tough on our kids. It doesn't end.
So thank you very much, Mrs. Schelin and Mr. Viljoen. To conclude, we have got really good kids at our school, and their prefrontal cortex is not just formed yet. They do make stupid mistakes. And so as a community, we've got to try and make sure that we limit those mistakes as much as possible. And so we need to work together. And, the addictive nature of social media and gaming does make it very difficult with teenagers. Sometimes you feel like you are really dealing with a drug addict. They get angry, they think things are unfair, but I can guarantee that all of us as parents are going through the same thing. So we need to try and stick together. We need to try and make sure that we are making the right decisions for our kids. So as a school, we're going to do a couple of things to try and help. And as a parent group, we'd like you to do the same. So as a school, we have blocked Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, so you cannot get it on at school. And we are prepared as a school to get involved. If it involves our school name or any of our school kids, we will get involved from a disciplinary point of view. We want to make sure our kids keep as safe as possible. We've also moved on to email communication. So often your children will say to you, we need our phones for school. If you want to keep the phone at home, that's not a problem. Everything can be accessed via PC on Google Classroom. And so don't stress about that. We also will be putting in a system in our LO from grade 4 all the way through to grade 9, just to try and develop safer, more responsible social media use. And you can talk about that with your children. That'll happen over the next few weeks. And then we're looking at a program for our older kids, which is more based on what is trending at the moment. And we'll be working through that as well. So from a parent's perspective, what we would like you to do, we would like you to take some of the advice you had this morning, try and limit. We've got to break those bad habits of COVID to try and limit time that your kids are spending on social media or on gaming, block content that they shouldn't be accessing, and have conversations with the kids. Open up those conversations, make sure that they're in agreement, and then you do pay for that phone. So you have the right to check that phone. And if you are not checking your phone, you may be a little bit naive. You need to be checking your phone, because as good as your kids are, and I know they are brilliant kids, they are making mistakes. So please do that, and please do that as often as you can. And if there's any questions or any queries, or you need any support, both Mr. Schelin, Mr. Viljoen, our IT support guys, and Mr. Shabalala are all here to try and make sure that we get you through what needs to happen. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you have a good time with technology in the next few years as you grow your pre-teens and teens. Thanks very much.
Please note that we will make all of our information available to you. So our links and our workshops will be sent through to you via
email.
And
our book pack will be made available to you just to help you set up your routes at home, as well as the information of the free apps or the paid options as well, just so you have a better idea if you need a step-by-step guide on what you need to do.
Right, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, give us a thumbs up, smash subscribe, and put on notifications so you never miss another video. Thanks, and goodbye.